Well, good morning, everybody. Morning. Welcome to our CEO Roundtable on Cancer annual meeting. I hope everybody enjoyed dinner, those of you who were able to participate last night. Particularly like to again thank Hatteras Partners, PPD, Quintiles, and of course Jim and Ann Goodnight for their hospitality and for sponsoring the event last night. You know, I'm not going to go through everything that we said last night, but again, I really do think an annual meeting is not just to conduct all of the, the statutory business of our roundtable, to really use that as a reflection about how far we've come and where we're going, and all of our members to consider about whether we're going far enough, whether you're satisfied with that progress. I do think that, of all the things I'm certainly involved in, I get something out of every single minute I personally spend with the roundtable, just because I think it is a unique platform. Yesterday in the executive committee, when we were talking to Ken Lee, our CFO, and as Marty often says, we've got kind of Matisse doing house painting with his job on this. We are not really challenging Ken enough, but he very accurately noted that most of the assets of the roundtable are not on the balance sheet. This is an enormous platform for leveraging the resources and efforts of so many different organizations, member companies, but government, academic institutions. And it's a unique, I think, environment, because this is one of those rare environments where we break down silos and we come together. And we come together for a very noble purpose, as former President Bush actually demanded us to do, and that is the fight against cancer. We have made huge strides, and all of us who are proud to make medicines for cancer, very proud of what we've been able to do. But the reality is that we're still not able to do enough, and that the survival rate of cancer is still not going down fast enough. And that the only real way that we're going to fight this dreaded disease is if we all come together and we all join in that fight and come together in ways that we wouldn't otherwise normally do. And that does cause us to get out of our silos. But it also, in order to come out of your silos, in order to collaborate and innovate in new ways, which both Herb Boyer and Charlie Sanders last night said so eloquently, it really takes championing right at the top of the organization. That you need to be able to cut through some of the difficulties, some of the challenge, especially if you work in big companies. You know that you have many no departments. Companies have a lot of organizations within it to protect their companies. You need to think about so many threats, especially if you're a publicly traded company these days. And it is normal and right that we have people who think about those threats. But the threat of cancer is even greater. And that's why it takes a championing at the top of the organization, at the CEO level, to be able to say, look, we really understand some of the difficulties in making this happen, but we want it to happen because there is a broader and more noble purpose to this. And that's what I would like you to be looking at and judging through the day. Are we being really bold enough? Because the charge that former President Bush gave us was to be bold and venturesome. So are we being bold enough, and are we venturing as far as we can go? As I said last night, there are kind of two main streams of this. The first is, let us protect the employees of our various organizations. Let's make sure that nobody ever gets cancer to begin with. It's the best way of keeping people healthy. And that is why we founded the Gold Standard. And as I said last night, I think the Gold Standard is actually becoming a standard for thinking about how healthcare systems in general could evolve. And particularly, I personally believe that prevention is not playing a big enough role in healthcare systems today. And the second is, of course, is that despite our best efforts to prevent, people will be faced with this dreaded disease. And therefore, what can we do, given the different and diverse competencies that we all bring to this? How do we work together in new ways to actually accelerate research and accelerate the availability of new medicines? And that's why we created that Life Sciences Consortium. And we've created the start clauses, as we said last night. DataSphere, you're going to hear an awful lot more about. And DataSphere for me is not only just in what you're hearing, but I think is a very strong example of how we can get this multidisciplinary collaboration going. I personally believe in research today, and you're seeing this in so many different areas in research, that it is only through this multidisciplinary approach. The science has become so complex that no one organization can have all of the competencies necessary to really achieve a particular scientific goal. So you need to bring people together who represent different competencies and have them collaborate. And DataSphere is, as you saw with the award last night, between Hogan Lovells, between SAS, and between, in this case, Sanofi, but behind that you've got other companies who are now interested in coming into it. You've had that unique, as Ann Vickery was saying at the executive committee yesterday, and Ken Lee, in fact, DataSphere would never have happened if you didn't have all three elements there. Sanofi couldn't do it alone. The Life Sciences Consortium couldn't do it alone. We needed the help of, first of all, getting a lot of legal barriers resolved. And SAS has been able to develop a number of unique tools to be able to actually do something with the data. So I think in both those, you're going to hopefully see some progress. But again, as much as progress as we have done, this is where we are coming from. And any organization needs to be always think about where it's going. And if we've all learned anything about healthcare, if you want something to happen, you have to start early. Everything takes a long time to be able to move because of the regulatory processes and the need for data. So we need to be thinking 2 and 3 years out and thinking about where else should we be going. So with that, I'll just, before turning it over to our CEO, just like to again formally welcome several new members. We're very happy to have them present. So we got Boehringer Ingelheim has joined us with Bill Ragaz. We've got Celgene, represented by Joel Beach. We have EMD Serono by Jim Hoyes, and Mary Mack, who's represented by Bob Mulroy. And I'd particularly also like to welcome, Alex wasn't able to join us last night because of a prior commitment, but Alex Gorski, who is the Chairman CEO of J&J, the CEO Roundtable, wouldn't exist today without that founding support of J&J. And so, Alex, we're very grateful that you're taking on where Bill Weldon has provided such strong leadership. So we appreciate you being here. So how about a round of applause for our new members? And with that, I'll turn it over to our CEO. I saw this really cute headline in the Wall Street Journal earlier this week. I think it was on Tuesday, but it was before the white smoke came out. And the Wall Street Journal said, March Madness Vatican style, who is going to come out of the Sweet Sistine? And so I knew that, a couple of friends would appreciate that. So I brought this to Marty's attention. And Marty appreciated it and sent back a photo of a very young Marty Murphy with Pope Pius XII at an occasion of his mother receiving an honor from the church. And Marty, of course, had been groomed to trained and informed about what you do in the presence of a pope. And then at one point, the Pope hands the St. Peter's medal to young Marty, and he grabs his hand. And then Marty wouldn't let go. And I think that was already a sign. Because Marty just never lets go. And once he's got you by the hand, David Brennan was talking about how he got involved with the round table. And it was Bill Weldon and Bob Ingram that convinced him. But once, he said, once Marty had me, then I was never going to escape. And so that tenacity, but actually pure passion. We all work with numerous people around the world. We're all involved in different organizations. And a lot of us have been involved in healthcare for many years. We all know that the fight against cancer is something that's has taken years and will take more years. In order for us to really keep that fight, you have to have a persistence, a resilience, a deep passion to make things happen. And I really couldn't imagine a better CEO for that. He spends more miles than pretty much anybody I know on the CEO roundtable. He will go wherever it's needed to recruit new members. He will get people mobilized. He inspires us all. We all are busy, and we might be tempted to slack off here or there, but Marty has his own way of hanging on and making sure that things happen. And I really think, Marty, that as much as we're all committed to this, you have inspired us to have that commitment, and the success that I think this roundtable has is very much as a function of what you and the team, with John and Peggy in particular, have brought. So I'd like to, on behalf of all of us, first of all, thank you very much for all that you've done the past year.